If you're given the opportunity to sit with the organizers of both, what would you address?
Bonner Boy said he plenty. So I'm going to break it down. The first one, riders profiling. We need to know who we're carrying. Some of the names are funny. You see names like Satan, you see names like Devil, and it's night, and the driver is panicking. Carry Satan this night from one point to the other. God help me. Also, we need to know these riders. Their names that we can verify. If you can add a picture to it, fine. So that's the security aspect for the driver. The driver too must feel secure. Pricing also very, very poor. Regular inspection. And then be more attentive to what both drivers and passengers are saying. I think if they can do these three, it will be a good startup to a brighter future in e-hailing for both drivers and passengers.
Yeah, yeah. You know what time it is. BA stand up. Let's beat vibes with Daisy. Let's go.
Hello, Patakos. Welcome to Please Rise to Daisy. The show you tune in for the rise, stay for the shows. I'm Daisy, your host. So, in this special episode, we have a unique person in our midst. This person is what they call it, a sports analyst, and he's also a boat driver part-time or full-time. I don't know which. But let's give it up and say welcome to Mr. Gogo.
Yeah, good day, Daisy, and good day, fans of the show. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, Mr. Gogo, I hope you're seated comfortably in the studio.
Yep.
And you're chilled, right?
Yeah, 100% chilled, yeah.
Okay, so let's dive right in. So, we have a few questions for you as a boat driver.
Okay.
And these questions are carefully chosen to ask because this has become like an issue in Nigeria. I think, just not in Port Harcourt, also in other states in Nigeria. So tell us, why do boat drivers find it difficult to turn on their AC? Or why do you find it difficult to turn on your AC when on a ride? Because this comfort is not just for you, it is also for your passenger. And it's actually very good to turn on your AC. You feel comfortable. So what's the reason?
Deliberately, I will find it weird that someone with a working brain and a good conscience will deliberately try to hurt or render a disservice to someone else, especially for something you're paying for. So that notion to me is a little bit incorrect. Now, not to blow our trumpet, but drivers do turn on their ACs. And not all of them ask you an extra charge for the AC. But there's been a decline in the number of drivers that do. So I will not say you're wrong. But in reality, I associate with drivers a lot. Like we have a group, PHP group, and there 90% of our members use their AC. The issue now is if you can put a timestamp on it, I will tell you this AC matter escalated after the removal of fuel subsidy. Before then, you did not need to ask the driver to turn on the AC, and like 9 times out of 10, sure, 11 times out of 10, if you get in my car and you use my ride, my AC is on. Because one, I understand you're paying for a service. And there's a difference between the e-hailing driver and your regular cab out there. I think one of the differences is comfort, security, and you dress well. Maybe as a guy, you put on your 80 ball, maybe your native and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Dress up and go. For the ladies too, your makeup when you get into a cab and you're all sweating.
Exactly.
And you're getting to your destination ragged, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work. So I understand the reason why it's a comfort ride. So you deserve some level of comfort. So I would say the removal of subsidy affected it, like it tilted it to a huge number, but I still interact with drivers, and 9 times out of 10, for the ones I interact with, their ACs are on. So I'm not saying the complaints about clients not drivers not turning AC is wrong, but the ones I interact with, we do. And the reason why we do it is we want to give you the best value for money. The ones that don't do, I've also interacted with them, and their issue is the pricing on the ride is a little bit low and unfair for them to go the extra mile of wasting extra fuel for a client that will not compensate them properly. Their actions can be seen very wrong, but at the same time, I understand it's coming from a place of discomfort, not because they want to hurt the passenger.
Okay. So you just said something about you guys have a group
Yeah.
where you interact and discuss,
Yeah.
So like how many members are in this group?
Well, there are factions in the group. For instance, Octon is the General Assembly every boat driver belongs to. But my group specifically is in PHP, where we have our admins that run the group. So Octon is like the figurehead, and we have subgroups of.
So the subgroup you're talking about, like in Port Harcourt, let's say.
Yep.
How many members are in it?
Our group run over 100. We were more than that, but because we stress synthesize like trying to get some people that are truly committed, doing a proper profiling, so you get to know these drivers. So in case you have an issue, for instance, you say, okay, a PHP driver carried me. We can run through the checks of the car. If you do a proper description, we can point out the number of persons using that car, and we can get across to you and say, okay, if you drop something in the car, maybe boat has not attended to you through their through their channels and their platforms. If you get in touch with PHP, as long as you can confirm it's a PHP driver, there's always a sticker behind. You can get across to him and we will get your stuff. We also pride ourselves of being drivers that operate with integrity, because it is important that the passenger also feels safe and doesn't have any form of resentment towards her, because recently the level of strife between passengers and drivers, it's gone through the roof. So we're doing our best to bring it down to the barest minimum. It's not easy. We're not the only ones in the field out there, but it takes a lot of work.
So, okay, that's all right. So what do you think about this saying, customers are always right?
Yep. Customers are always right, and both is a customer-centric service. Is the reason why we have issues between customers and passengers. Customers are always right, and passengers sometimes will never see the point of view of the driver, and it is understandable. But there's always a disparity between someone that knows a boat driver personally, maybe your brother, your relative, your husband, or your fiancé, the way they interact with drivers and the way other passengers interact, there's always a difference. And the issue is you've been able to see both sides of the divide, you've tossed both sides of the coin, and you've observed that these guys are not always at fault for their reaction. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you see these boat drivers do, something has pushed them to the wall. So you said customers are always right. That saying is true and also false at the same time. For instance, we know how our city is. There are places in this state that are flashpoints for flood. Once it rains, it is flooded. It is boat. For instance, the e-hailing company is not boat. So you expect your driver to go through water. For instance, personal experience, I've lost a car for driving through a flooded area. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. And you go through, your engine is gone. So passengers don't want to see from the driver's point of view that it's not safe, or it's not even advisable for me to drive my car through. We're talking about flood, but there are some roads that deep down are beyond deplorable. Like even trekking down that road is it's a big problem, but you still expect the driver to drive through without any complaints at all. And this is why we have the rift between driver and passenger. For instance, if the e-hailing company start taking the drivers a little bit more seriously in terms of their complaints, their plight, and what is making them being disgruntled, we would have less rift between passengers and drivers. Because if you know your street is waterlogged, you won't book the driver and tell him to come in. You possibly tell him, okay, I'll make my way out to a place where will be comfortable for both of us, because you also need the comfort, the reason why you're booking, but not at the detriment of the car, because that car is the livelihood of the driver. You basically, maybe you paying 5,000 naira for a trip. Bet you there's no car that you will get for 5,000 naira today.
Okay. So who are you to blame? Would you blame both the customer or government for not doing the roads properly? Because these roads are, like people live there, for instance.
Yeah.
So it's not their fault.
Yeah, sure.
They live in areas where there's waterlogged because there's no good drainage system over there. So are you going to blame both for giving you rights to such destinations? Or are you going to blame the government for not doing the roads? Or are you going to blame the customer who lives in that place, who resides there and books a ride for you to pick this person up?
Let's say trifecta of levels. The first one is the government. They have not done their job, and we as the citizens, we've also not held them accountable enough, so they're getting away with it. So that's a different story for another day. The second one is bold. For instance, bold, find a way to quickly penalize the driver for not going for a ride. It is not compulsory you go for every ride. You must go for rides that you're comfortable with. And also the same thing for passengers. A passenger can come look at your face and say, I ain't comfortable with you. I ain't going on this ride. Sorry for the inconvenience of dragging you down here. Have a nice day.
Do you feel that is wrong and unfair?
It's wrong and unfair because you've driven maybe 1 or 2 kilometers down to the passenger's pickup point, and the reason the passenger is not entering is because the passenger feels unsafe. And at the same time, if the passenger is not safe, I stand for your safety. It's very important. But when you begin to say things like, I don't like the way it's looking, for the cars that are not motorable, there's roadworthiness.
Okay, so that's a question we'll talk for soon.
Okay, so let's go back to who is at fault. As long as the e-hailing companies are penalizing the drivers will become hardened.
Okay.
It now becomes a war of it now becomes a battle instead of to something that will be a service. And as long as you're fighting, as long as you're in fighting mode, even when there's no war, you would create one. Because the e-hailing company, they've pushed the drivers to the background. They are like not important. But in reality, we're all important in this ecosystem. I provide a service, you need a service, and you're paying for it. I'm providing a service, but I'm not treated like someone that is important in the grand scheme of things. So whenever there's the complaints from the passenger, it don't take a week. You see it reflect on the app. But whenever there's a complaint from the driver, it will take years, it will take months. Drivers will complain, go on strike, do whatever they can. So, as long as the e-hailing company is not comfortable, the only time they react is when there's a competitor in the market and they know that, okay, drivers would, because we're all looking for avenues that's going to make us money at the same time that will save us expenses.
Okay.
So it is nobody's fault, but at the same time, as a driver, I'll do what is best for me. So I've learned the hard way. The road is not motorable, it's waterlogged. Sorry, I can't do it. But both is not, the e-hailing company is not supposed to penalize the driver. You snap and post evidence. This is the state of the road. I can't go in. But you'll still be penalized for it. So I think we need to find the right balance. It is not the passenger's fault, but at the same time, car parts, they've shot up from the removal of subsidy. I think they've shot up over 70%. And this is all falling down on the driver. When most persons book you on a ride, they tell you, what's the cost of fuel now? It's not so, it's reduced, it's no longer 1,000 something, it's now 950. Okay?
Yeah.
But the cost of motor parts, they are not a joy. Like it's okay. You wanted to divert into the state of the cars in the business.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's go into it. Like I said, it still boils down to the subsidy that has basically affected every economical part of the country. So before the subsidy and after subsidy, there's a clear distinction between how cars were being maintained and now. So that income has affected drivers maintaining their cars. We still have good cars on the road. But the truth of the matter is, those that are in the business, because of the cost of maintenance, are finding it difficult to maintain their cars. So at the same time, it's also left for the passenger. If a car is not good, don't get it. If you
Okay,
don't feel safe enough, don't do it.
good.
Yeah.
I like that. But there are some cars, if you want to talk about maintenance or there are some cars that I don't know how they pass through the screening,
Inspection
the
tests.
inspection, yeah, and all, to be on the boat app, to be a driver, no. Because these cars have never seen the light of air conditioning in it. Do you get, yeah, like these cars have never seen the light of AC. And when you ask them, they say their compressor is bad, their AC is bad, they give you
Always give
one
excuses.
excuse or the other. But trust me, if you still book this person, 1 month, 2 months later, it's going to be exactly the same excuse. Even if it's not the same excuse, he could use some other excuse, or she could use some other excuse, but it's the same car issue. There is no change in the compressor. Some of them are so dusty that they don't even wash their cars. Their cars look unkempt. Like, imagine I have to go for an event and I need to come in style. And I book a ride, and the driver is looking tattered. The driver is looking like he has smoked or taken alcohol.
Under the influence of.
Yeah, like, yeah. And also, the person is like, the driver is also, the car is not clean. And the car is like, it's as dented, more like that, in a terrible state. So, should I get in? Because I'm not going to get in. Even if you've driven for like 10 minutes, is that appropriate for this customer to get into a car not fitting comfort? Because the point of using the boat ride is the comfort.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if a car is in a deplorable state, 9 times out of 10, you know the passenger won't get in. So a passenger that, knows their what and, feels there are some cars you see on the road, even normal public transport, you wouldn't want to get in.
Okay.
You get in a car and it's raining and you're getting drenched, but you're in the vehicle. You find a way to highlight, but maybe because of the rain outside, you just find a way to stay in. But if you've taken note of the driver, the next time you're not getting in. So if your car is in a deplorable state, it is not Bolt's fault or the passenger's fault. It is your fault. And I got this idea from one of our admins, Mr. Jude Jennings of PHP. He said, it's very easy to fix the system. And one of the things Bolt need to do is proper inspection. Proper and regular inspection. Come in, like, I think now they do 4 months. Still make it 4 months, but the inspection should be rigid. And then any car that doesn't pass the test, don't get it on the app. But everyone must fix their cars. If you give drivers the ultimatum, fix your cars, for instance, so we still need to go with government, paint your cars or get off the road. Like paint your car the state color for you to be able to play on the road. Tell the drivers to fix their cars, fix your AC, and then get on the app. The prices will be fair as compared to what we're seeing now. 90% of the drivers will do that. So 9 times out of 10, I can tell you the AC is working. But because they feel already the price is not convenient enough for them, they don't want to go through that extra mile of turning on the AC. Now, they're also forgetting that it's not just for the passenger, but for themselves. But it's like if you're a football fan, you're already 2-0 down. What is the best case scenario? Go out for a third goal. So the driver is risking both suspending him out of the system, the passenger complaining. He just wants to make his money and go back home. And as long as you're in survival mode, you can't beat the child and tell him how to cry. Bolt is dealing with the drivers mercilessly and then expecting them to react. So, for instance, there's also something called an economy ride. I don't do it, but economy ride where economy price that's cheaper than Bolt. So drivers are already complaining about the current price that it does. If you as at 191 to 200 naira per liter, fuel is 950 today, almost times 5, I think. We're not saying the prices should be times 5 of what it was, but we're saying what is What is 1,900 doing in a ride? A 10 minutes ride. What is 1,009 doing? It's a little too low for the driver. And that's why you begin to get all these complaints. And that's why you even see drivers trying to bargain extra. Before the subsidy, you rarely hear of these cases where you book a ride and driver is saying, sorry, I won't go for this amount. The driver comes, the AC is on, you come in, you go. If you want to have a conversation, fine. If you don't, he was strictly professional. But as long as these e-hailing companies are not reacting to the pains of the drivers are on freestyle, and it's getting to anarchy level where drivers don't care anymore. And that is a problem for we, the drivers, and also the passengers.
Okay. So when you talked about, you just said the passengers, all of that. I don't even know where to start from because you've made so much points. So should both adhere to what the drivers claim? Because at the end of the day, this statement, customers are always right, is still involved here. Because if drivers should keep complaining about certain things, but the passengers, majority, keep complaining about this increment. Because at the same time, it is not exactly the passenger's fault
Of course.
that there is a subsidy and
Yep.
all of that. It's because these people, so they are, maybe I book a ride and I'm trying to get to my my space to acquire money. Like just this morning, my media head guy, when he was coming, he booked a ride and the ride was showing on the app 3,000 naira, and the driver bargained for 7,000 naira, which is outrageous because you don't even know if that could be his last card in his account and he just needs to get to his destination because he's coming to work, obviously, to look for money. So booking a ride and then you're asking him to pay more than the fee and
2 times the
like
fee.
2 times and even an extra to the 2 times. So that's not fair to the passenger.
Yeah.
Because it is not just, it has actually become not just an economy thing, but it's become like a right for them to ask for an extra fee, which is very wrong
Extra outrageous fees.
and very outrageous.
Yeah, those complaints are very valid, but like I said, the complaints they're not coming from a place of hurt, of being wicked or just being malicious. It's coming from a place of concern. So, for instance, if you check the distance for that 3,000 naira ride,
Yeah.
some drivers could go for maybe 4,000, some could go for the price on the app. But at the end of the day, by the time you're done with fueling and you check how much you're done, remember you're also paying a percentage to go. It's 23, but sometimes it might be more than that for every ride. So the driver basically goes home with nothing. So that is where the drivers are trying to strike a balance. After buying fuel and paying both commission, I don't want to go home empty-handed. For instance, the first time I saw the effect of this fuel subsidy was the day it was removed. I came into town. I was away for work. Came into town and I bought fuel of 10,000, and I was able to make 7,000. That's a 3,000 naira loss. But before then, with my 10,000 naira fuel, I make maybe 25, maybe 27. On a good and blessed day, maybe 30. I take out the 10K for fueling again. From the next 20K, I take maybe half of it, pay both, maybe 5,000. I keep 5,000 for the owner, I keep 5,000 for repair, and I go again. But all of a sudden, drivers are running at loss. So they are trying to adjust. Since then, both, maybe they've done an increment, but it's not so much. So if both want to fix this system, it's very simple. Regular inspection. Everybody fix up your cars, and we're going to upgrade the price. The minimum base fare for me 2,500, and I tell you, any amount you pay for that ride, you'll be glad you did, because one, it's a clean ride, air condition working, and find a way to get drivers that are not compliant to the new rules out of the system. We see the government do that all the time, but it's because both feel they can get away with the driver's angle. You just keep addressing to the passengers. Recently, there's also been an upgrade on the app where right now you don't see the amount in total, you see what you're to earn, and drivers now are confused. So it means these complaints you're having, it's going to multiply.
Okay,
Yeah.
valid
Yeah.
from your perspective. So, you're a bus driver, and you should have heard that. You should have heard, or you should know that some drivers, when they come to your destination to pick you up, when they arrive, they will then drive to a certain point and then request for an extra fee.
Okay.
They don't ask you before coming.
Yeah.
They wait until you're in the ride, and then you're moving, and then asking for the extra fee.
That's manipulative.
So when you do that, you're putting this passenger in a position where if they decline,
They're stranded.
Yes, they're stranded to have to come down and rebook another ride. And they have to like wait for that ride to get there. Or they have to forcefully pay you to, take them the extra fee to take them to that destination, which is outrageously wicked.
Yep.
And very unfair. So what do you say about that?
That's inhuman, that's extorting, that's manipulative. If you pick a ride and you're not okay with the price, and maybe you've tried to talk with the passenger to do an upgrade, I always use that word, add-ons, upgrade. It's my regular word. Don't put the passenger in a position. It's like I said, it's just the driver being manipulative, being inhuman, because if you're put in that same spot, you wouldn't like it. So that's wrong for a driver to do that. Try to coerce the passenger into paying the amount. Like you said, what if it's the person's last money for the day or something? So that's wrong. There's no defense for that. I understand, like I said, fuel subsidy, car situation, life, and all of that. But it still doesn't give you the right to strong arm a passenger.
Yeah, because that's theft.
That's basically strong arming a passenger. It's theft without using any weapon. The weapon is basically your right now, and that's unfair. And yeah, passengers have complained, drivers have complained. The issue now, the ball is in the court of the e-hailing app. And as long as they play blind eyes to these issues, they will continually rise. And hopefully it doesn't get to a point where drivers and passengers are exchanging blows.
Oh, it has actually.
Yeah, exchanging blows and, getting involved and, exchanging fees. So my solution is call the drivers, because you've always listened to the passengers. So call the drivers to a genuine round table. Sometimes they do, but they don't do anything about it. And discuss with them and find out their plight. I'm not saying every ride should be 20,000 naira. You're not going interstate. You're within the state. It should be fair, but also fair enough for me to maintain this ride. The deplorable state of the ride is because drivers can't meet up anymore. Drivers are struggling under the weight of their job and also expectations. Most of them are family men, school fees must be paid, family taken care of. Okay, for one that has children that are not going to school, they must feed. And everybody knows how feeding is this period. So drivers are complaining, but you're turning a blind eye to it because it's a customer-centric business. You will keep getting these issues.
But then if these drivers keep up with this and passengers decide to stop using the apps and go back to daily cab bookings and all, would they not still be able to take care of their families? How are they going to support themselves, their income? Because at the end of the day, the customers are still the people making your vehicle move.
The driving force behind
they're putting you in that position. It's just like they're paying you. They're paying your salary.
Yep.
So you owe them to give them the comfort they deserve on every ride.
Yep, yes. And as much as customers pay for the service, the driver owns the car. And like I said, there's no right. There's no right. I'm not sure even interstate, from here to the farthest point in this country, I'm not sure you can use that money to buy any car now. So drivers also are offering something. They're not offering ijolopi, something you. They're not offering trash. They're offering something good. So drivers are also bringing something to the table. But it's because of how much they've been beaten, they've gotten to a point where they don't care anymore. So if today people stop booking, the drivers would gently go to something else because drivers have gotten to that point where they're genuinely tired of the system. So if passengers come out and say, you know what? Drivers went on a protest a couple of days back, May 1st, I think. If passengers decide this today, we're not booking, we're not doing anything, the driver will gently drive his car. Maybe join the taxi guys on the road, or maybe go into something else. It has always been value for value. You pay a service, I render a service. If we're not meeting, if there's no alignment in our values, we'll go our separate ways. It's never for it, like I said, um one of my one of my customers, he booked a ride yesterday. He didn't know I would be within the vicinity. He booked a ride, the driver was there, he saw me, he said, I've booked a ride, and it was like, um, you know what? I've brought this driver in, I'll give him a tip, and a huge one, for your inconvenience of driving into that space. He did it because he understood the discomfort of dragging someone from their point to this point and just being cowardly in canceling the ride. Does it make him more understanding? Yes. And will a driver react better to him? Yes. But drivers are also forced into a point. A shout out to him. I think it's a Mr. Olatunji here. But a shout out to him for understanding. But if he's not had this type of conversations, he'll do it. Some passengers are also unaware that it's evil. But they do these things because the system allows it. If there's a cancellation fee, for instance, you book a ride and someone is not ready. Maybe for a guy, he's not even had his part and he's booked a ride. So, okay, wherever you are, just come wait. Waiting fee for maybe 20 minutes, it's 100 naira. It's 20 minutes, 100 naira in this society. What would it, in that space of time, that driver can make, in 20 minutes, a driver can make 5,000. But is there a sitting dog waiting for you to get ready? The plights of the drivers are so much that it will look like drivers need therapeutic help because of how much they have, like, it looks like they have been battered by the system and also battered by the passengers. So whatever you see the drivers do, as long as it's not, I don't condone it, it is coming from a place of pain and discomfort.
Sir, I have like just two more questions for you. This one is why do drivers become like, let's say if a lady for the night books a ride, like, and then books to a hotel, and when the driver picks her up, knowing that it's going to be a man who will pay for the ride at the hotel, they become automatically rude to that lady.
Condescending.
Yeah, they condescend and be judgmental to the female. What do you think about that? Because you're a boat driver. Do you do that?
If anyone has any evidence out there, you can bring it.
Okay.
I don't do that, by the way. But it's not a driver issue, it's a societal problem.
Okay.
Yeah. And the driver is a microcosm of the society.
Wait, one thing. You say it's a societal problem,
Yeah.
not the driver.
Yeah.
But should you bring societal issues to work?
The same way we are a reflection of the people that govern us. You can't, yes, we are a reflection of our leaders because they didn't fall out from the sky. They are our family members, they are relatives. So whatever we complain about them, it's something we do on a minute scale. But at the same time, a driver being condescending to a lady because she's going to a hotel, or a guy is going to pay, lacks professionalism.
Because a lot of girls have made this complaint.
Yeah. That's a driver being unprofessional and should be dealt with. Where the person is going, how the person is, if you're uncomfortable with it, you cancel the ride and go, but you decide to embark on this ride and you're being judgmental. That's wrong on the driver's part. And any driver that that is caught in that position should be punished for it, because it's none of your business. Your job is pick a passenger, drop a passenger, you receive your money, and you au revoir. But once you begin to go into the moral decadence of the person and your uprightness, you're in the wrong profession. You're not in a it's not an evangelical ministry. It's peak job, receive pay, and bounce. So once you start being condescending, both to male or female, it's now a problem because we have female drivers too. So once you start being condescending towards the passenger, as long as I don't believe in tit for tat, fights and all that, but as long as it's not from your end and it's the passenger, no, as long as it's not from the passenger, it's you just reacting from your cocoon mindedness, then it's not the passenger's fault. So it's wrong. The bottom line is it's wrong for a driver to
act that way.
Yeah, to act that way and to be disrespectful to a passenger. It lacks professionality. Yeah.
Okay. So from that, you said there's been a scenario where the driver picks up a lady and he's been aroused.
Making advances? Okay.
Yeah, he's been aroused.
Okay.
Like it was physically showing that he's been aroused by this lady. And she happened to be sitting at the front seat. I think her thighs were open and like that is so gross, like.
Yep.
And that could lead to rape you could use your eyes to rape somebody.
Most definitely.
So why do some drivers do that?
Like I said, it's still a reflection of the society. For instance, we've had the reverse cases where drivers are being seduced on their job. We've seen a couple of videos out there for drivers that, for passengers that are offering themselves in exchange for service. It all boils down to the society. So,
that's trade by barter.
Yes. In as much as it points down to a driver versus a passenger problem, it's a reflection of the mind of the driver. For instance, I feel no matter how someone is dressed, it's none of your business. And like I said, it's peak and it's job. But man know thyself and environment. So if you know you will be uncomfortable with this passenger, you kindly decline. We've had situations where passengers are undressing and changing up in your car. Most drivers are uncomfortable with it, but they just have to sit dog like a sitting dog because they need their money and they
look away.
Yes, you will definitely look away, but
that's inappropriate.
Thank you very much. But the presence is also a problem because you don't know the mental frame of this driver. So you don't know where he is, you don't know how he's thinking, you don't know what he's been through.
Okay.
You don't know what is going on part time. So that's why I think from passengers, psychologically, I'm not saying get into talks, but get one or two conversations going so you know the mind of this person. This person is uncomfortable with it. For instance, that kind of driver, maybe you go to the back. If you want to go on with the ride, maybe it's late, you can't wait, and there's no time to book another one. Go to the back. But first things first, passengers and drivers must put their safety as a number one priority. And if we're not doing that, then that's wrong. So for a driver to be aroused by a lady is wrong, but it's not a driver versus passenger problem. It's a reflection of our society.
Okay. So now for the last question of the day, this episode per se. If you're given the opportunity to sit with the board or the organizers of both, what would you address and what would you want them to change in the solutions? Because you've pointed a few, but I think you should just make your point.
If I had the opportunity to sit down with both, Burna Boy said he plenty, so I'm going to break it down.
Please break it down for time's sake.
The first one, riders profiling. We need to know who we're carrying. Some of the names are funny. You see names like Satan, you see names like Clevo, and it's night, and the driver is panicking. Carry Satan this night from one point to the other. God help me. And also, we need to know these riders. Their names that we can verify. If you can add a picture to it, fine. The pricing is also very poor. So that's the security aspect for the driver. The driver too must feel secure. And as much as you want the passenger to do so, the driver is also a human being. It's not AI or a robot. It's not Jarvis from Iron Man. It's a human being. So security, pricing also very, very poor. So do an upgrade on the price. Base fares to me should be 2005.
That's been your main
Yeah,
focus.
base fare. Also another thing you'd look at, regular inspection and drivers fixing up their cars in terms of the AC, because it's not just the passenger enjoying. You the driver to also want to look cool. I talked with someone that was doing the job before. He said he looked way more cooler than some other persons that worked in professional places. So drivers ensuring their cars are in a they are roadworthy, just roadworthiness, security, and then also be more attentive to what both drivers and passengers are saying. I think if they can do these three, it will be a good startup to a brighter future in e-hailing for both drivers and passengers.
Okay. So that's it for Mr. Gogo. He has made his points for today about both. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments because we'll be watching. So thank you for tuning in. Bye. Peace. Until we align, my guys.
Lifestyle, pure good vibes. Now PH vibes with Daisy. Stay locked in.